Falsely thoughts, race, life's a twisted place. No time to erase.
All right, so you any type of believer?
Yeah, I'm a Christian. What's your name,
You
by the
are.
way?
My name is Volsi.
Oh, let's go by Wilson. Okay.
Cool. All right, y'all. We are at 34 people in here. We're at 10.7K likes. We've been here for about 2 hours. I'm probably doing 1 more hour. Please go ahead and did we smash that goal already? Did we hit the goal? I think we did hit the goal, y'all. W goal. I appreciate y'all. Keep liking that live, y'all. All right, Mathis, what you got for me? Let's go ahead and talk for about 20 minutes.
So
What you
you're
got?
an atheist?
Yes, sir.
I guess I'll let you decide what we talk about. I love it. I love any conversation, any topic you'd like. We can go on my reasons for belief in a God in general, or we can talk about the Bible or whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, I have about 5 prompts up there. Let's see.
No good
With
reason to
me,
believe in God.
no good reason. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
So okay, hold on. Let's see here. Got some notes. So what do you do with it when the Big Bang theory first came out? A lot of scientists were shocked and appalled, and they were fought against it because they thought it was theological in essence to prove that the universe had a beginning and not eternal, because they were adamant that it was eternal, because if the universe had a beginning, it had to have a beginner, and they fought against it, but it became basically the standard belief for scientists that the Big Bangs happened because they kept on proving it. And if something has a beginning, it has to have a beginner. I don't know what you do with that.
All right. The Big Bang actually doesn't say that, you know, there like the universe can't be eternal. What the Big Bang actually says, because that is a misnomer. What the Big Bang is actually about is the expansion of, the expansion of space as far as we know it, or the expansion of something from a singularity. Now, the entire thing with that is essentially, um where that singularity came from or why it did what it did. That's something that we don't know. You know what I mean? That's basically all it is. We don't know why the singularity, did what it did, or why it expanded the way that it did, or where it even came from. That doesn't mean that suddenly there is something outside of it that must have started it. All that is just, there was a singularity. And yeah, they did think that the universe was static at a certain point. That is true. They thought that it was eternal. But this is the way science works. When there's new information,
I agree with you.
yeah, when new
Um,
information comes up,
your response to that
they
is
go
we
to the
just don't
information.
know, and we'll find out someday maybe.
Exactly.
But you got to admit though that does kind of line up with what theists have believed.
No, but the thing is about the Big Bang. The Big Bang doesn't say that, that was the beginning of all space, time, and everything in the universe.
Oh,
It's just that
it kind of certainly does because, well, I mean, it depends on how you interpret it. Of course, there's many theories, but I think it's pretty well recognized that time and space came out of a singular point uh, from basically nothing. And everything erupted out.
but that's not what the Big Bang actually says.
I mean, my understanding of it after researching it for quite a while, that's basically a summary of it.
Right. I mean, that's a summary of like the presentation of our current universe.
I mean, that's
but
one
like,
way to interpret the what we know.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's lots of theories, but that's just one way. We can move on.
Huh?
I'll move on from that since it's something where we just don't know for sure. But I feel like it's one point of evidence. So my argument would be, not one thing can prove it, but it's
Mhm.
all these aspects prove, or at least are evidence that there is a God, and it's reasonable to believe in a God. The next one would be the fine tuning argument, which
Mhm.
I'm sure you're familiar with.
Just a little bit.
Sure. Let me. I don't have that pulled up. Well, the fine tuning argument is pretty convincing to me. That
Mhm.
all the aspects, like gravity itself, is fine tuned to, like, I think it's 1 in 10 to like the 30th or 60th power, basically one with 60 zeros after it. And every force is this fine tuned perfectly, and we know scientifically that if they were off just a tiny infinitesimal bit, uh, life The universe as we know it would not exist.
Okay. So this is actually another misnomer. Because I think this comes from like the Creation Institute. That part is actually not true either. Like there's been models of other constants on these forces, and life very much is possible. It just wouldn't be the universe as we understand it. These are the constants for
The
this
strong
universe as
force itself. If the strong
Mhm.
force or the weak force.
Mhm.
I don't know. I have notes on this somewhere.
No, I understand what you're saying. Like, because I've heard this before. Like the strong force, the weak force, gravity. If they were off by certain parameters, then the universe wouldn't exist. What they're actually saying, what science actually say, is that the universe that we see now, as we know it,
No,
probably won't exist.
but
There
you
will
wouldn't
be
even
other
have
laws of
planets.
physics.
You wouldn't even
Mhm.
have planets. Like matter itself would be just thrown out, and maybe you wouldn't get the Big Bang. I think there's like some of them could be adjusted to ways where you still have potential for life, but a lot of them you wouldn't have potential for life if they're adjusted.
But that's not.
Well, I'll tell you this: the reason why it's convincing to me is because there's lots of scientists that are so troubled by it that they've theorized the multiverse. If it's not a problem, why are they scrambling to explain it away by coming up with a fairy tale of some kind of universe creating mechanism? Sure.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so when you talk about when it comes to the fine tuning and all these like parameters, like I was saying, they're not saying that life as we know it won't exist. It'll simply be a different kind of existence. They're not saying that there will be no existence at all. It'll just be a different type of existence than what we know. And when it comes to when it comes to like the multiverse and everything like that, that's more to do with string theory and causality and things like that. It's not about the fine tuning argument. Therefore, if these things don't happen, therefore life doesn't exist. So we have to come up with a whole other thing.
I think I don't know how you could have a universe with life in it if you don't even have planets forming. So I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That they're not saying that there wouldn't be planets or anything wouldn't exist.
Oh yeah, yeah. You wouldn't have planets if some of these were altered very little.
Say that again.
I don't have the exact numbers pulled up, but there would not be planets if the weak force was altered a little bit.
There would not be planets if the weak force was altered a little bit.
Right, because or if gravity was altered, you wouldn't have these things form. You could, I mean, I can find you if you want. I can find you some videos that go over the data on that, but
yeah, I don't because I haven't seen any data about that. Like there would be planets, it just wouldn't be like what we understand. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, we'll move on to my favorite argument for God. Because we disagree on that. And that's the moral argument. And I don't know how an atheist can have absolute morals. I don't think you can. And I believe absolute morals exist, and I think we all know it deep down that they do.
Well, you said absolute morals.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know absolute morals exist?
I think it's just intuitive to all of us that they do.
It's not.
Okay. Is rape ever okay?
Nope.
How do you know that?
Because it harms people.
What if it didn't harm people? What if the person that you're raping is partially brain dead? Is that okay?
No, that's because it just feels disgusting to me.
But why? Why is it wrong?
I just don't want. It's not preferable. I just don't want to do it.
If it's not hurting anybody, why isn't that wrong?
Because I don't want to do it.
I'm not asking why you don't want to do it. I'm saying, why is it morally, objectively wrong?
Why is it morally wrong to rape a dead body?
Yeah.
Because it's you're defiling another. You're still defiling someone that passed away.
But they're not there.
Because there's no consent there. Like
they can't.
They can't consent.
You don't believe
exactly.
they're still there, or that they go on. So it's just chemicals.
Right. But there's no consent.
How could there be consent if there's no one there?
Exactly. So it's wrong. It's great.
But you're not making sense, man.
Okay, rape is sex without consent. There's no consent, and or there can't be consent, then it's rape. Rape is wrong
Why is it wrong though?
because it's a violation. You're violating someone else. I don't understand what
But
you're
if that person is dead, how are you violating them?
because you're not they're not consenting to that.
Sorry, unalive. See, I told you I wouldn't say the right words. So I can come up with a bunch of examples, and I probably should have a list of these if I'm going to talk to people about this. But where we know it's wrong, but there's no ground to say it's wrong if you're atheist, because you can't tag it to anything. There has to be a moral giver. Otherwise, we're just making it up as we go.
Yeah, there's a moral giver. Me.
Well, what if you said that? What if you're Hitler or can you say his name?
We have to say Hitler. Well, where does that say Mustache Man? Yeah, mustache. The reason why what Mustache Man did was because my morals are not based on just what a personal person says. We live in a society, right? We're a socially dependent species. You feel me? We depend on social interdependence.
Right.
That's how we live. Yeah, I mean, and not only that, we just have empathy. You feel what I'm saying? There is no society where what Mustache Man did, what he did, is going to be a good society, and we see that because it caused an entire war to go to war.
You're not. I don't think it makes sense to me.
Okay, so let me explain it this way. The way that we decide the way that I decide morality, and the way that I've seen even everyone decide morality, are based on three things: well-being for the maximum amount of people, reduction of harm, and negative and positive consequences. Those three things is what I've seen all morality based off of. You feel what I'm saying? So even if we don't have an objective standard, we still can make objective observations because of negative and positive consequences.
But what if we're wrong?
Wrong about what?
Well, for instance, it was okay. It was the norm in the world for slavery at one point,
and that had negative consequences.
It did, but people justified it, and the culture approved it somehow. And throughout all of history, like every single race on earth has been in slavery.
Understood, but it still had negative consequences.
I agree with you, but they were justified at that time. And today we do things that have negative consequences, but we consider them okay.
Yeah, it was justified at that time, and it was justified in the Bible. And we can go to that too. But the thing what I'm trying to get to you is that even if there's no objective sky moral giver, we can still look at positive and negative consequences. And slavery having all the negative consequences doesn't require a God for us to know that it's wrong.
And I feel like I'm terrible at this, man. I watch these lives and I have so many thoughts and I get on it and I'm so nervous that I got nothing, man.
No, you're good. You're fine. So it's all good and well. I like to have these discussions. I don't think I'm that good at it either. If there's plenty of other people like Skits and Justin and Thinker and Sebastian and Harry and Ian. Those guys are way better at this than I am. That's why I don't have their subscriber count. But but that's what that's what I would say. And from what I could look at, like, we don't need to appeal to a moral giver if we could just look at the consequences of things.
I mean, if you go back to that first example, I still don't think I see a negative there that would say that's wrong. So I don't know how you justify
for slavery.
No, not slavery. Raping a dead body or graping a dead body or unalive body.
I mean, look, when it comes to graping a dead body, at the end of the day, like, as a human being, I just have that type of empathy. You know what I'm saying? I know that this was a person with a family before. So why would I
I,
even
well, I know you know it's wrong,
Mhm.
but I don't know how you justify that it's wrong
empathy?
on an atheist perspective, because who are you empathizing with if that person is dead or unalive?
Who that person used to be and their family.
But now they're just a decaying corpse that is not that it's not a person anymore.
Yeah, it's just a body now, but it used to be a person, and that person still has a family.
That's not the person anymore, though.
Yeah, but they still have a family. Why would I do that to their family?
You're
I
not.
wouldn't want somebody to grade my body when I'm dead.
If they
So
would,
why would I do
okay,
yours?
in this scenario, say they'd never find out.
Still, I wouldn't want that to happen to my body. I wouldn't do that to anybody else. Straight up empathy.
But say you didn't feel that way. Say someone did feel that it was okay because no one's going to find out. Is that person wrong? And what makes them wrong?
I think that person is wrong, and most people will think that person is wrong. To them, they aren't, because they just don't feel that empathy.
Well, I know it's obviously wrong, but that's what I'm pointing to. I'm pointing to the fact that there is objective morals that we just feel intuitively. And where does that come from?
Empathy.
It doesn't come from evolution.
Yeah, it does, because as a social species, we develop empathy.
I feel like evolution, we have a drive. If evolution is true, we have this drive to do things, and I don't know where that would be selected out for. There's many scenarios that I'm drawing a blank to come up with. I'm gonna have to make a list if I ever have this conversation again, where it would make sense in an evolutionary sense for us to do these certain things, but there's something in us that we know it's evil, and so we don't.
I mean,
Or
from
we-
an evolutionary
some people-
standpoint, if we're a species that depends on each other, and we're a species that live in social settings and we depend on each other, it's counterproductive to antagonize people of the other members of your species. That's completely counterproductive, because you just won't survive. You see what I'm saying? And every single time when we see this happen in hunter-gatherer societies back in the prehistoric times, if there was someone that antagonized their neighbors and they were kicked out, it was they basically didn't survive. You see what I'm saying? We depend on each other. That's how we develop empathy.
Right.
We also see this with every single social species. Elephants have empathy. Rats have empathy. You see what I'm saying? Because they're a social species, and they need that interdependence. So, like, from an evolutionary standpoint, the reason why we don't murder and eat babies is because, like, doing something like that is counterproductive to our survival. Because if I have neighbors and I murder and eat their babies, and we make that normal, they're gonna murder and eat my babies.
I understand that
How would we
argument.
survive?
I understand that there's some logic there, but I feel like it falls apart. And it doesn't go all the way to what we intuit naturally.
Would be, how doesn't it? Because this seems to be something that's pretty obvious, that antagonizing my neighbor is counterproductive to my survival. So there's no reason to do that. And if we do that over a long period of time, we're gonna develop something called empathy.
For instance, like I don't know if I could say this, but like post-nut clarity, like we are driven to procreate, and that you could explain that with evolution, of course. What is this post-nut clarity though, where when you do it in a way that is somehow you feel dirty and wrong about, what does that come from?
Maybe I didn't understand your question. Can you say that one more time?
You gonna make me say post-nut clarity again?
Where is the regret of doing something wrong? Where does it come from?
Well, it's almost like a meme when people feel dirty, or they feel
bad for.
they feel like they did something wrong. But I feel like if there is no objective morals, where does that feeling come from? You should not feel bad about looking at internet videos and doing that act, and yet I know it's a common thing.
I would say two things. Essentially, like it comes with two things. Number one, we're just socialized that way. You know what I mean? That's number one. But the second thing I would say is it would again come just
from those feelings of empathy, remorse, sadness. All that could be explained through evolution. Because if we didn't have these things, our species wouldn't survive for long, or we would be a solitary species. You know what I mean? Like bears and tigers. Humanity wouldn't survive for long. We would just be bears and tigers in the woods. But there wouldn't be millions of us, basically.
Okay.
That's what I would say. All right, we got 2 more minutes left. Do you have anything else for me?
Oh, we can wrap it there.
Over there. All right, I appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
up here.
Thank you for having me, and God bless you.
Not a problem. Have a good one.
You too.